of love, where they were so brainwashed that they were willing to kill for him.
The man I looked up to as a father figure turned out to be evil. My worst memory was standing on guard duty and hearing someone being beaten, and subsequently he was murdered.
Yahweh ben Yahweh was eventually convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and sentenced to 18 years in prison.
I'm still haunted by the things I witnessed, and I still have nightmares. For years, I believed that this man was Jesus in the flesh.
Khalil, that last statement really grabs me, that for years you thought he was Jesus in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
What made you believe that?
Well, as a young man, I was raised in the Baptist church, so I was always a spiritual kid. So when I ran into Yahweh ben Yahweh, one of the first things that he did was quoted a scripture that supposedly described what Jesus looked like. In Revelations, it talks about Jesus having eyes as a flame of fire and hair like wool, and that Jesus was a black man. And the strangest thing about Yahweh ben Yahweh, as a black man, he didn't have eyes that I normally saw on black men, on black people. He was a light-skinned black man, but his eyes were like hazel and blue, and it just depended on how the light hit him. So his eyes were, for all intents and purposes, like a flame of fire.
How did you first meet him? Like, it's not like you're standing at the supermarket and he came up to you, right?
Right.
What happened?
Well, I was a 19-year-old college freshman.
Okay.
I was at one of my fraternity brothers' house, and some literature was on the coffee table. So I picked it up, and it said, "You are not an N-word." That was the title of it. And, God, Yahweh, God of gods, your true history, the world's best kept secret. And then so I began to read it, and it talked about all the prophets in the Bible were not white, but they were black. And he would give a scripture like Job 30:30, which says, "My skin is black upon thee." And I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I always thought that they were white people in the Bible.
And it's the first time that you're kind of putting this all together, so you're like, what is going on here?
Right.
And it's really resonating for you.
Absolutely. I was already in college into some black history stuff.
Uh-huh.
But this was the icing on the cake. And when he came out of the bathroom, I said, who is this guy, Moses Israel? And where can I go see him? And the next Wednesday, I beelined it to his class.
And you said he was like a father figure to you. Can you describe your relationship?
Growing up, my father was there, but he really wasn't there. He was untouchable. Like, emotionally, he was detached from us. So I have no memories of father-son bonds or touching me, hugging me, kissing me. None of that. So when I met Yahweh ben Yahweh, right away, he was like that father who I never had. I mean, he would sit down on the floor with us later on as we became a community and just talk to me and my wife and cry with us. And he was the father I never had. And, we bonded right away. And because the organization was new, I was one of the first 40 or 50 people that had joined it. So I was like his spiritual son.
And what year was this?
This is 1980.
1980. Okay. And you were married at that time, too?
We just got married that year, yes. We got
okay.
married.
And so you're in college still? That's how you discovered.
Yes. I discovered him in college, but shortly thereafter, Yahweh ben Yahweh, or Brother Moses, he was called back then. He didn't make us, but he suggested that if you want to be a part of the movement, quit your job. You don't need the white man's system or his religion, his education, none of that stuff. All that's vanity. So, but about a year into it, we actually got a building. And once we got the building, he asked who wants to become a full-time worker. And me and my wife, we volunteered.
So did you live at the building?
I lived at the building for 4 years.
But is there at any point where you're like, okay, is this a cult?
No. Yahweh ben Yahweh, he didn't run from that word, because that word would come up. Brainwashing, cult, those words would come up. And he would say, with a smile on his face, yes, you're in a cult. What is a cult? It simply means that we are, according to him, we are set aside from mainstream religion. People say, you all are brainwashed. He says, yes, you are brainwashed. I'm washing your brains clean of white supremacy.
Well, he also talked about death angels. What is that?
The death angels were brothers who were in the organization who went out and killed people, basically. And it was based on the death angels. When you read the Bible and you read about Moses and the firstborn of Egypt being killed, it was the death angels that did that. We believe that, when you read that in the Bible, you think it's some kind of spiritual, mystical thing. But in our world, the death angels were real. Angels were real people. They weren't not someone with wings. They were killers. And we had death angels. We also had a group called the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood were guys who wanted to prove that they loved Yahweh ben Yahweh and wanted to be close to him. So to become a member of the Brotherhood, you had to go out and kill a random white person.
And people did this.
And bring back either the head or bring back an ear, some kind of proof that you actually killed a white person. That's how you became a member of the Brotherhood.
How did you rationalize in your mind, as there are sections of this cult that are called the Brotherhood and the Death Angels that are going out and committing acts of violence and murdering people?
Well, it's easily justified because if you begin to read the Old Testament, you read about God telling Moses, God telling Joshua, God telling different people to go kill people. And so, there's a scripture.
So he was using the Bible to brainwash.
Absolutely. Everything was from the Bible. He would show you the scripture. Here's a scripture that says, God told these people to go and cut all their heads off and put them in baskets and hang them up on trees. That's in the Bible as a commandment from God to Joshua. And so we would read those things, and that would be the justification for murder.
Did he personally ever attack you?
Yeah, I was attacked way back in 1981. We used to have this thing called Sisters Class. What went on in Sisters Class, I have no idea. It was only sisters. But after Sisters Class one night, my wife and her cousin came out, and we're in the cafeteria on a Friday night, and they're giggling and making a joke about the size of penises. And I just happened to overhear it, and it just came out of class with him. So I'm thinking they're talking about maybe Yahweh ben Yahweh's. So I turned to my wife and said, that's unholy conversation. That's what I said. And me and my wife had a little back and forth, not a big argument, but a little back and forth. Later on that night, 11 o'clock at night, we're all asleep. There's a meeting called in the cafeteria for all the so-called full-time workers. So I'm just naive. I don't know what's going on. So I'm sitting there. For some strange reason, my wife is not next to me. She's across the way there. And so Yahweh ben Yahweh walks over to me and says, he puts his hand on my shoulder and says, what do you think about a brother who's concerned about the size of another man's penis? And I knew right there that this was about what had transpired between me and my wife. And so right after that, he called the sister to go get a paddle. And then he called me up. He made me bend over a chair. And he called all the sisters, probably about 40 sisters, even the young girls, not just women, but all the women. He made them line up. And he said, every woman here gets paddle you 3 times. So 40 times 3, whatever that is, do your math, 120. The licks I took that night.
Do you remember what was going on through your mind as you got 120 hits?
Well, actually, I felt sorry for my wife because she's the one that went to Yahweh ben Yahweh about the discussion we had. It wasn't even an argument. It was just a couple of words. So as I'm getting paddled by all these women, the embarrassment of having 5-year-olds to 80-year-olds, women hitting you.
So is he sleeping with other women in the thing? Is this what?
Yahweh ben Yahweh was sleeping with from 12-year-old to married women. There would be many times where I would be on guard duty at night. I'd be sitting there, watching the street at night. And I would see, and I'd go back to the bathroom or something, walk through the temple just to make sure everything is good. And I would see Yahweh ben Yahweh in a bathroom, coming out of a single sister's room, or coming out of a teenage sister's room, or even coming out of a married sister's room. Because some of the women that were married, they had husbands that were in different cities doing things. So, but the wives were left here. But I was so naive, I thought it was, some candlelight reading thing going on.
In a robe.
Yes. I didn't know that, yeah, I didn't know this was going on.
I have to ask, so were you an angel of death or in the Brotherhood?
No. And the reason I wasn't, the reason I wasn't is because Yahweh ben Yahweh helped me as one of his spiritual sons. So he didn't want to see my hands get bloody. But I will say this, I was as brainwashed as anybody. I would have murdered for him. I would have been a death angel had he commanded me to do that. I was gone.
Wow, well, you are right here today. It's amazing that you could go through something like that and recover your mind. And when we come back, you're going to hear about Khalil's daring escape and how he became an informant for the FBI. But it all came at a price. We'll be right back.
He controlled everything. He controlled what we ate.
Listen, it is what, 12:26 or whatever, and I'm about to let this continue to play. I'm definitely going to let this continue to rock out because I want you all to understand who Khalil Amani really is. And what I think, and for those that may not have even known him, and what's crazy is this. Here's what's crazy. I'm a true crime buff, and I do remember the Yahweh ben Yahweh cult, but I was young. I was maybe 12, 13 or something like that. So I, really didn't know much about this story until when I get introduced to Khalil Amani, not through anything kind, but through the hate of Israel Doctrine. I kept hearing this name, Khalil, 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 Khalil. I'm like, who is this Khalil person that he keeps talking about? Oh, they're going to end up doing an interview and all. I'm like, who? Then she goes over there, his queen. She actually goes up on his platform and lies and says that the night before I went up on Khalil Amani's platform and doxed her. I don't think Khalil's ever did a panel on his platform before, but he definitely had not been live the night before. And I've actually never been on Khalil's platform ever. I've been in the chat, but I've never been up there. So it's just a blatant lie, another blatant lie, just like she's running around here claiming that Tasha K is going to interview her soon. I think Tasha K would want to interview this man before she would want to interview you, bitch. This man has way more to bring to the table than, what do you bring to the table exactly? What? A piece of meth rock? You probably won't even have a piece of that. You're so broke, poor, and dusty, bitch. The way you probably suck a dick and struggle just to get one hit, bitch.
Who we married,
Child abuser.
even when we had sex.
Coming up, she was Laura.
I knew I had to escape, but I also knew my wife would never leave. When I decided to go, I kissed my wife and kids and asked her to give me 30 minutes before reporting that I was gone.
Welcome back. That was Khalil, who escaped the brutal separatist cult, the Nation of Yahweh, whose members have been convicted of brutal violent crimes, including murder. And it still haunts him to this day. So how long had you been in the cult when you realized I have to escape?
I was in the cult for 5 years. It was during the 4th year that I really realized that I was in a cult.
What was the moment?
We had things called, we go out in the community and sell stuff, and we had to bring back a certain amount of money, and we had a quota system.
What's the quota system?
Everyone had to bring back at least $10. And so we had these different products we would sell, plus we would just ask for donations. And if you didn't make your quota, you were sent to something called a room of understanding. Basically, it was the cafeteria converted into a torture chamber. And so one time I finally didn't make my quota, and I knew that I was on the way out. I just needed something to kick me out of there, And so this time when I didn't make the quota, I was sent directly to the room of understanding. And in the room of understanding, basically, you got on the floor, you knelt on your knees for an extended period of time, usually from an hour to 10 hours, depending on the severity of your crime. And so it's in that room, you see children and women and men, and people are crying and wailing, but there's guys with big old sticks. If you bend over or fall over, you're going to get beat with a stick. So you got to just on your knees. Now, it only takes about 7 to 10 minutes for the pain to set in. you're in it. So after about a half hour, the pain is at, the threshold it's up here. So, I mean, for me, after about, a half hour, I was numb. But that's when I had my epiphany that it's time to go.
It was physical pain that made your brain snap out of it, it sounds like. So tell me about the night that you escaped. What happened?
It was this same night. I was in the room of understanding for about 3 hours. People were crying and wailing, and I was on my knees. And internally, inside, I was smiling because I knew that, my ordeal was just about over. I couldn't just get up and walk away because that would have been a beat down or possibly death trying to leave. So I knew I had to just deal with this. And I knew my wife had not had her epiphany yet, so she wasn't coming. But I had to do what I had to do for myself. So after about 3 hours, they said, my name was Yehuda in the cult. Yehuda, you can get up and go to your room. Now, mind you, by that time, I used to live with Yahweh ben Yahweh in the same room. But a year earlier, he had kicked me out of there so that he could have my wife. That kind of thing. So, of course, when I was in the cult, I didn't know that's what it was. I just thought that I was a bad person and I couldn't stay there no more. So once I got up off my knee, once they told me I could get up, I had to roll over. You can't just get up and walk. There's no blood there. You just have to let everything get, circulating again. But once I was able to get up, I went and found my wife, and I said to her, I'm leaving. I didn't even ask her was she coming because I already knew she was belonging.
But you told her you were leaving.
I told her I was.
Were you worried that she was going to go to somebody in the cult?
I was worried, but she had 2 of my children, and the great part of me was like wishing she would say, "Yeah, let's get out of here," but I knew that wasn't going to happen. So give me 30 minutes before you tell, because I know she was going to tell.
All right. So how did you get out of this building?
After I got up, I feeling like I was going to my dormitory, and as I'm walking down the street, it's about 10 o'clock at night. I kind of look left, look right. But there's people all, everywhere. And once I saw that no one was looking at me, I hit a side street and took off running. And when I tell you, I had a long robe on, I had the turban on, and I ran out of it. I'm running.
Where did you go? Where do you go? Because he had, at this point, thousands and thousands of followers.
Right. I just ran toward the biggest boulevard. By now I have on just some white pants and a t-shirt, but the robe and the turban, they're back there somewhere. But I jumped on the bus. I had no money, and for some reason, the bus driver waved me by. I don't know if he knew, but he waved me by. I went to the back seat of the bus.
That was God. I heard somebody say, you're right. That was, come on in.
Come on in. Yeah. So he waved me by, and I took a bus up to Carroll City, which is the northern part of Miami. And, I just sat in the back of the bus, and I cried all the way home. I just walked around aimlessly that night. I ended up finding an abandoned car and slept in it the first night. And the next day I was able to, my phone number was the same, so I called it. My brother answered, and he came and got me and took me to my father's house.
Wow. Now, you eventually went to the FBI, and you wound up in the Witness Protection Program.
I actually did.
So how does it work when you decide to become an FBI informant? Do you just show up at the FBI office in Miami and say, I got stuff to talk to you about? How's that work?
That's basically what I did.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I did. What had happened was, there were things that were going on that the cult were doing, like they bombed this whole neighborhood and burned up this baby. They went to another part of Miami called Opalaka. They bought the apartments. After they bought the apartments, they went there in one day and kicked everybody out. Single mothers, children, get out. Meanwhile, there was 2 guys that lived there, and they said, we're not going anywhere until we get an eviction notice. And they were killed that night by the cult.
Are you afraid to be here?
Absolutely not.
So it wasn't your experience as much as seeing the violence spread that had you say, I got to do something.
Right. After I saw the burning and the people kicked out their apartments, the 2 guys were killed, I told myself, tomorrow when I get up, I'm going down to the FBI and just spill my guts. And I might even be indicted myself because there were things that I was aware of that could potentially put myself in jail. But I didn't care. All I knew that the violence had to stop. And I was willing to put my life on the line to make that happen.
Wow. And so as a result of the information you gave, were people indicted?
A lot of people. You know, I was naive back then when I walked into the FBI office and, you know, told them everything I could tell them and who, what, when, where. I thought in my naivete, I thought that, you know, in 2 months they would indict the cult. It didn't happen for like 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I cooperated for 6 years. I wore a government-issued beeper back in those days, and they would call me, you know, ask me different questions, and, you know, they actually wanted me to go back in to join the cult again and wear wire. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
You know what I want to know? I'm always interested about how experiences that people survive impact them mentally, and how you reclaim your mind and rebuild your life when you survive something like this. And I also want to find out what happened to your wife and your kids. So we're going to dig into that when we come back. Up next, Eve says that you can't ever shake the experience of being in a cult. What does that mean? And like, welcome back. I'm Mel Robbins. Today we're taking you inside the minds of people who are haunted by the things they experienced as members of separatist cults. Khalil still can't shake the things he witnessed. Now, you've said in other interviews that you can't ever shake the experience of being in a cult. What does that mean?
It's just with you. I mean, this happened 35 years ago, but there's probably not a month that goes by that I don't have at least one nightmare. It never leaves you. It's part of who you are. I mean.
So where are your kids and where's your ex-wife?
The ex-wife she stayed 5 years after I left, so that was that. You know, I kept hope alive for about 3 years after I left that she would come back, we'd get together, but that didn't happen. So she finally left when the cult was broke up. She finally left. My kids, during that time, it was a tug of war, and I had them a little while. She had them. We had them. You know, it was a tug of war, but for the most part, after I left the cult, I ended up moving to San Diego, and then the Witness Protection Program took me to Omaha, Nebraska, and Denver, Colorado, and I was able to bring my children to all 3 of those cities. So,
have you gone through any formal deprogramming? Do you work with a therapist? How do you get your mind right after experience like that?
I never got any professional help. One of the things I did was going back to college. I minored in religion at the University of Nebraska. And I think I probably read the whole religious section at the University of Nebraska in the library, just on the quest to find out how could I be so naive to believe that a mere mortal man is God? You know,
and what answer did you come up with to that question?
Well, I realized one thing is that, you know, all those books I read, I came away realizing that we're never going to know the other side until we go to the other side. That was the.
Awesome. Wow, this has been fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. When we come back, you'll meet a woman who escaped a separatist cult only months before 900 members died in a mass suicide, including hundreds of children, an experience that haunts her. Stay with us. Up next.
Yeah, I'm over here trying to get paid now. I'm not just doing YouTube because it's fun. It is.
All right. I just, I had to let that just play because I've literally watched every. Khalil has a lot of clips on his page, right? From his various different experiences and conversations, with various different reporters, journalists, and stuff like that. And Khalil is so kind. He even sat down with me and did an interview with me just a few weeks ago. And we didn't even get through everything. But honestly, the more that I talk to Khalil and the more, that I've gotten to know him, I don't even care about that. It's almost like making him relive it. And there's no reason for him to do that. I think that, an interview with him regarding current events or something that he's working on now or, whatever, I think that I am perfectly okay with that because, and that was deep, Third Eye. Oh my God. What, to me, it makes me feel very offended that this woman would call him such horrible things. All right, and say such horrible things when you're looking at a hero right here. You're looking at a man that single-handedly took down an entire fucking cult, that murdered people, that raped people. It doesn't matter about all the other stuff. If you've never been in a cult, then you wouldn't understand the situation about the wife and all that. And the fact that he could even come out here and talk to the world about something so heavy and something so personal is to be respected, frankly, in my opinion. So already off the top, the Izzy and his queer queen is weak as fuck. And I say queer queen not in a mean way. Because see, here's the other thing about Khalil Amani. He is a supporter of the LGBT community, an advocate. He's more than just a supporter. He's got a beautiful wife, a current beautiful wife, beautiful children, and he supports the LGBT community. And one of the things, this is what's going on here. I'm going to tell you exactly why what's going on or what happened 2 days ago happened. All right, let me show you.
Fiber optics.
Okay. Basically, you all know that it wasn't too long ago that, there was an interview killer situation, right? And with that, okay, it became wider known that Izzy hates the LGBT community. Like I said, he keeps trying to make my son like the face of his LGBT hate movement, right? Every time I turn around, my son's face is on a goddamn thumbnail, right? And my thing is this. If my son is gay, that's none of your motherfucking business. All right? But I love the fuck out of my son. I wouldn't care if he's gay, bi, whatever he is. I love him. So it's just really weird that you all keep trying to make my son like the face of your hate movement. You've never talked to my son. You never had a conversation with my son. You know what I'm saying? Like, you bitches don't know my fucking son. My son may fuck around and knock your fucking head off just for fucking with him. I'm actually a lot nicer than I should be to a lot of these people out here on this YouTube. And that's changing. That's changing. That's purposely changing for me because I've always been one of those kind of people, man, where I take a lot, man. I take a lot. I've had motherfuckers sit up on this bitch for years and come at me and not even say a motherfucking thing back. Just act like I don't even see the shit. I've did that shit a couple of times, right? And then there's been times when, people have been, came for me and I ignore them and shit. And then sometimes I fucking say, you know what, fuck this. Lately, it's been like, you know what, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. Like, for example, Miss old child abuser over there, right? Because she's going to come up. Unfortunately, she's going to come up on this platform. And unfortunately, here we are talking about this trash box again, right? But it's like, for me, man, the background context that you need to understand is this, okay? These people have see, when you become a bigger content creator, and this is going to happen to any of y'all that are trying to grow, as you become bigger, you're going to amass a bunch of fucking haters, okay? You're just going to amass haters, period. It's just what happens. People that dislike you, they hate you for whatever reason, blah, 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 blah. And one of the things that they do, or one of the things that comes with that definitely has happened to me, so I know it happens to others, is anytime my haters see me like interacting with a content creator, like a new content creator or something like that they've never, seen me with before, or say I share Hood Hampton's video, right? They're going to go and hit Hood Hampton up and they're going to try to say, Hood Hampton, you better watch that LeakYou, bitch. Blah, 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 right? Happens every time, right? And I get that shit all the time for other content creators. People come to me and send messages like, you should watch that Hood Hampton guy. You should watch, you should watch that such and such content creator. You should watch her. You should watch him, blah, blah, blah. And generally, I block that type of shit. Because it's like, man, listen, I'm like this. I'll figure it out on my own. But I appreciate you. I appreciate it, but I'll figure this shit out on my own. All right? And a lot of times, man, people just lie. And they just want to ruin and try to destroy what you're building because they don't have what you got, but they want what you got, right? And that's kind of like what I've been dealing with. We're dealing with a weird bitch who couldn't accept the fact that I didn't want to do a fucking interview with her about a goddamn Ken Nolan news. She just could not accept that. She could not accept it, and took it whatever kind of fucking way she wanted to take it, all right? It doesn't matter. She took it too far, and she's far too aggressive. And I've told her this before, right? And so, first off, before, that part even happened, right? She's up here asking me weird shit. Like, hey, will you create a channel with me? For what? Well, we could do like Sir King does this show, and we could have people come on the show, and then she was trying to tell me something about like we'd put them in some kind of something, and then they'd pay to get out of it. They'd pay to tell their story or some weird shit. I'm like, man, I'm not interested in that. Okay. And then, but see, in her mind, she said that I should have did it because if I'm about doing business, then I should have did it, right? No. First of all, I'm not obligated to do anything, all right? I'm not obligated to do any sort of business with you at all. The only thing I do is share your videos from, time to time. You moderate for me. I share your videos once in a while. I try to throw you support and show up to your videos when I can catch them, but I'm not obligated after that, okay? And she hits me up and she goes on trying to like pitch this business idea. Hey, shout out to Hood Hampton in the chat. Hassan Campbell Life Stories. Listen, y'all get over there and subscribe to his channel. I put a link to not only this video, but I also put a link to his channel in the chat, in the description of each platform that I am streaming on right now. And I am streaming on multiple platforms at this time, including Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. Anyway, so, she's trying to pitch the show to me. And then all of a sudden she's like, you'd have to be okay with Ken and Lady Snoop coming up on the platform. And I'm like, first of all, I haven't said I'm okay with having no channel with you. Like that shit. I don't think so. Like I was already a no with that, like before she even spit the rest of it out. And the way she spit the rest of it out, she said it like this. I want to give you an opportunity. Nah, bitch, you ain't giving me a motherfucking thing at all. You're not giving me an opportunity. Like talking to me like, having a channel with her is some great opportunity or something. Lady, you got like what? 600 subscribers, and most of them you got from me. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are you even asking me this? And, why would you even ask me something like that? Right. So it was really weird. It felt weird. And I made it a point that she was making me feel weird. And then she goes on to, to start talking, then the real reason, one of the real reasons why she, really was calling, she decides she'll bring it up. Right. I got blocked in Queen's chat the other day. She was talking about Queen's throne. And I said, oh, yeah? Okay. I mean, what the fuck do you want me to do about that? Like, I don't know. What happened? I mean, shit, I don't know. I don't even think I was there that night when that shit happened, to be honest. Like, I don't control that woman's platform. I have no control over that woman's platform. But I guess she thought she was gonna call me and get me to like talk shit about Queen or some shit. Nah, man, you YouTubers way better than that. And the one thing I know is this: if the only thing you have in common with somebody is YouTube, okay, you don't tell them motherfuckers shit. Do you hear me? You trust no one on this fucking application telling you what the fuck I know. All right? And I mean that shit. If that's all you have in common is YouTube, all you're ever going to talk about is YouTube, and then it's going to get messy. All right. That's the way it is. That's why I always try to like everything that I do it out front and open. So that way, the people that I know, if they're fighting with each other or if somebody says something about somebody, and I try to be very open, out front, and clear and concise. I try not to drop down in places, if something's like that's going on, so that I don't get involved in any conflicts. It's hard. It's a tightrope that you got to walk when you're a content creator. Okay. But also, let's be honest. I can't keep up with everybody's beefs. All right. I got my own shit going on, and it's impossible for me to keep up with everybody's beefs. That was the one thing about the goddamn beef sector. Them fucking narratives, man, they go like this. I can't keep up with that shit. I literally have a mentor that for 3 years, this woman, I would have to talk to this woman. Shout out to her. I haven't talked to her in a minute. I hope she's doing okay. I would have to hit her up and say, well, who is this? Who's VS? Who's Sean Bradley? Who's mother? Who is such and such? Who is such and such, right? And get the backstory and all that type of shit, right? Because I would never come out and speak on somebody if I don't know who they are, type shit. But I was trying to just get familiar with the community, with the sector, type shit, right? And it could have been anybody, right? I feel like a lot of other people should do that because you would be more knowledgeable about the sector in general, right? Anyway, same thing goes for any sector out here. Black sector, conscious community sector, the Mo3 sector, all that type of shit. There's no way people, listen, I know people are smarter, or some people are smarter than a lot of others. And there are a lot of dummies that will jump out here and just like go up into a sector not knowing shit. But I know there's people that do that knowing shit, knowing full well, and already are pulling strings because they done took the time, because they're not dummies. You get what I'm saying? And so in this case, however, this lady, the child abuser, and Izzy for that matter, they're not the type that takes the time to get to know and understand who they want to make their enemy. See, they don't play the art of war very well at all. You see, they're making enemies of people and they don't know them. They're not trying to learn them. None of that, right? And part of that was Izzy making war with the LGBT community and even going so far as to call out the beef sector, talking about all the homos in the beef sector, that he'll beef with each and every fucking one of them just because they're gay. Now, I've already played that, like when all that LGBT stuff was going on. But then what ends up happening? Well, what ends up happening is Izzy ends up over on Rico's channel over there, Rico Suave over there, white trailer trash Rico Suave. Or should I say wetback Rico Suave, since he calls me white trailer trash, because he's whiter than I am, right? But he ends up over there, Izzy ends up over there, and if anybody knows Rico, if you've been around any length of time, Rico is as gay as they come, right? He's gay. Period. He's a member of the LGBT community. And so is his mom. He's got a moderator, TC. She's also a member. And Lord knows when I seen her jump her ass up there on that panel that she was about to give that work to Izzy. I already knew. And I knew it was going to be the type of work that like it was going to be some intelligence being thrown at him that he wasn't going to be able to handle very well when it came to her. Because I know her. I've watched her for years, right? On various different platforms, right? Don't talk to her, nothing like that. I'm familiar with her, right? So he ends up being surrounded by nothing but members of the LGBT community, getting his ass lambasted. And rightfully so. Because all he does is profess his fucking hate on a daily basis about the LGBT community, which is why I was like, hello, your queen just said she's bi. Is that not a problem for you, being the fact that you are out here preaching hate at the LGBT community? And my other thing is, you're an alcoholic, sir. You know that is a sin and a transgression, right? So my thing is, you hate the sin all you want, but don't fucking hate the people, man. Don't be malicious towards the people. So Khalil Amani, who is an advocate and a avid advocate, they decided that they were going to go into this like public, what do they call it? Damage control mode type shit. And that's exactly what's going on right now. So now all of a sudden, okay, because during that time when the interview killer situation happened and I went up there and I was, asking about his queer queen, and, Khalil Amani also did some videos. He also, did a video at Rico. And like he told him, he's not your fucking enemy, dude. He supports your cause. Izzy does not. Izzy hates you. He hates. He hates. Hold on. How do I get rid of that? No, I don't want to try again. Get off. Okay. He hates your cause. He hates what you are, Rico Suave. He hates what you are. Period. So anyway, whatever. It's the weirdest thing ever. But what's going on is, see, after I did that, after I crashed that interview, and then when Izzy got ambushed over there at Rico's house, because that's exactly what that was an ambush. It was funny because his queer queen calls him up and wakes him up about 1:30 in the morning. And, and the excuse she used was that they were going to do an interview anyway. I wish one of you bitches would call me up at 1:30 in the morning and ask me to jump on Rico Suave's platform. I would have known from the jump, the moment that she asked me to do it, that there is something malicious up. You want to know why I would have said that to myself? If it would have been me, because I can't tell you how many times this bitch, when she moderated for me, I can't tell you how many times this bitch used to hit my line, my business phone, the one that everybody's got, and say shit like, such and such is over there talking about you. Man, I got that shit in text, writing. I done screen recorded every text message from this bitch, and they're gonna come out. All the shit you said about all these content creators, Trish, Olivia the Oracle, Blessed Watkins, Lady Nika, Ken Nola, Trejor Lane, all of them. Sean Bradley, bitch, they're all gonna know the shit that you said about him, bitch. All of them. Because I'm putting all them text messages out, bitch. But she even tried that shit with Cookie Monstar, talking about Cookie's over there talking about you. What? She tries to make shit look like something it ain't. Then she'll try to act like she knows you when she does not know you. She even, not even 2 months ago, went on her community wall and claimed that I reached out to her on TikTok. Guys, I've never talked to anyone on TikTok, ever. Okay? And then she was so bold with it, she took a chat bubble and she put a chat bubble on top of the follow button and screenshot that shit. There is no feature that exists on the TikTok platform. There's no chat bubble that hovers over the follow button. Why didn't you screenshot the actual conversation if I'm talking to you, right? She tried to do the same thing and claimed that I had reached out to her on email. She tried to say I reached out to her on Instagram. Nah, bitch. No, ma'am. But you ain't seen her provide a piece of proof or receipt yet, though, right? But that's what I'm talking about. Like, she'll act like I know her. Like, she acts like she knows me. She acts like She acts like we was in a mafia together, like burying bodies together type shit. Like, bitch, I don't know you. all this because I didn't want to interview about Ken Nolan news. And I'm telling you, she got really mad about that. She did. She told me straight up, every time I want to interview you, Ken always does this. And I'm like, Ken does what? Ken ain't got shit to do with this. I'm tired of talking about him. Do you not understand that? Like, god dang, it's been a couple of years. But my thing is this, you know who's for you and who's not for you. Because a real friend and a real supporter would have supported my decision. Not sit up there and tell me that I'm wrong for not going in business and building a channel with them because Ken Nolan and Lady Snoop would have come up on the channel. Nah, bitch. First off, I'm not obligated to do a damn thing. Second of all, you like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm not doing good business. It's better for me not to do something like that. The hell are you talking about? Man, and plus, number 2, I would never have another channel with any content creator out here ever. I would never do that. Ever. I don't care who they are. I have my own channel. You have yours. We can collaborate, but it ain't going to consist of us sharing no YouTube channel. No, we're not doing that. Now, if I had paid employees, then that would be a different case. If I had paid employees, then that's different, right? If I had like a no jumper situation, then that would be different. But they're paid employees. And at the end of the day, that's my platform. And I know I'm going on and on, but I'm just giving a little background, a little context here on why all of this is even happening, right? So I knew about her situation with her kids, all right? I knew for about maybe a year, right? And the way that I found out is she hits me up one day and straight up asked me, did I see the interview that she had did on Mrs. Meat's channel? And I'm like, no. What interview? I didn't know what she was talking about. And so she was like, yeah, she gave me this sob story about how DCFS had took her son and all this, and that they're now trying to terminate her parental rights. This was in 2021 when we had this conversation, December of 2021, matter of fact. And I was like, wow, and I was like, have you tried to get a lawyer? And, and she kept just giving excuse, right? So in December 2021, she had me thinking like this shit just happened. But no, her son was taken when he was 4. Her son is about to be 14 years old. So anyway, so basically when she asked me that and got mad about the interview that I wouldn't do, and when I turned down that business proposition, okay, she got very upset. And then all of a sudden, like, my fucking ex-husband's face starts popping up on her community wall over there. And she's over there literally doxing my family members over there. And then all of a sudden, my son's face is up on her fucking community wall. It wasn't even just one of my sons. It was both of my sons. And then the bitch starts dropping down in comments in her community wall of family members of mine. And I'm like, what in the world is this bitch doing? I'm like, why is this lady attacking me? And I actually brought her up on my platform on January the 10th or the 18th, one of the two. And I asked her, why are you, and before I finished that, she was doing all of that, right? But I ignored it. I acted like I didn't even see it. But then this is what made me really bring her up on, this is what caused me to bring her up on the platform. I did a video on a woman named Kwani, another content creator, right? And I said whatever I said about the situation. Her and Ken Nola was going at it or whatever. And I said what I had to say. And 3 days later, this, lady who's supposed to be my moderator lights a live up and starts going in on Kwani and starts trying to use me in my name to fucking do it as her reasoning. And so, of course, people start hitting me up and they're like, yo, man, you need to get over here because, man, this bitch don't, she's off her rocker, man. She's up here trying to get some shit kicked off between you and Kwani. Straight up. So I go over and I'm listening to like a few minutes of this shit. I'm up in the bushes listening to this shit. And she's going in on Kwani. And she's using my name like, this, leak you, that. Don't make me do this. And I'm like, what in the world? I said, hell no. I said, if anybody that knows me knows that the first thing I will tell any of y'all out here, I don't care how much you love me, don't you ever windmill for me. Now, there's a difference between windmilling and telling the truth. Like tonight with Khalil Amani, I'm about to speak truth, but this isn't windmilling. Y'all know what windmilling is, right? It's when people just do too much and go the extra mile, make videos, you know, uh, because it's another method of clout chasing, in my opinion. Okay, it's like what some would call a good form of clout chasing. But the problem with windmilling is people can say things and fuck up when they're talking, and then that fucks it up for you. Okay. So I prefer that people just don't do that. I can handle my own situations, my own issues. Now, that doesn't mean that, hey, if we can link up and attack something together as a team, depending on how we do that and what it is, I mean, that's different, right? But no, this right here was extreme, like type of windmilling, but she was being malicious about it. And she was doing it intentionally because she wanted to get some shit started between me and Kwani. That's what she wanted. Or she wanted to get some shit going between her and Kwani, and then she was going to try to lean on me and act like I was going to say something to Kwani if she got into it with her. I wouldn't have said a motherfucking thing, bitch. You started that problem. You deal with that problem. And like I told her, if you got a problem with Kwani, you go after Kwani your fucking self. You don't need to use my name to do that shit. That was some pussy ass shit to do that. And I asked her straight up, why did you do that? And that was in like January. So I brought her over in January, and those three major points I just listed is exactly what I confronted her with. And I told her straight up that I didn't believe nothing that she was saying. But you know what? One of the reasons why I waited so long before, almost a month before I brought her up, because I was really hoping she would stop, because I knew that if I brought her up and she fucking lied, being the fact that she had doxed both of my sons over there on her platform and created channels with my sons' names and shit on them, I knew that I was going to tell what I knew. And that was going to be that she was a child abuser. She is a child abuser, and that I know all about it. I know all about it. Me and her had conversations about it. It's not like I'm just talking out of my ass here. And absolutely, we're talking about, this isn't allegations at all. I'm talking about paperwork. I'm talking about this bitch is interviewed about it. I'm talking about I've got it from the horse's mouth. Okay? Straight like that. I will never say allege, because there's nothing to allege at all. This woman broke her son's arm. Again, she knocked teeth out of his mouth and everything. But listen, that is, I've covered that before. All you got to do, go look at my edits. From the horse's mouth, those ones, I think I'm up to a part 4 at this point. I've also sat down and interviewed with a couple of her family members who went into detail about the level of abuse she was inflicting on that little boy that was taken from her when he was 4 years old. Now, what I want to focus on right now, and the reason why I said all of that shit, is because I know that Hood Hampton's in the building, and I wanted him to be familiar with the backstory with me and her, because he wasn't. And when me and him first met, he was very confused about who I was, and I was very confused about who he was. Okay, very confused. And apparently, and I didn't know this. See, that just goes to show I don't spend my time going around YouTube warning people about other people. Like, I could give a fuck less, and frankly, I wouldn't give a fuck how many times you warn me about someone. It's not going to stop me from shit. If I want to learn that person, that's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to let any of that shit that I've ever heard, I'm not going to hold that against that person. I think everybody deserves a fucking fair fucking shot. Like, we don't know the circumstances for whatever it is, you know? That's why it's called keeping myself out of that type of, business and shit, right? And what the fuck do I know about some shit that happened 3 and 4 and 5 goddamn years ago? I mean, come the fuck on, right? So anyway, now, so what's going on here is because the LGBT situation happened and Izzy's been getting hit pretty fucking hard, right? He gets ambushed on Rico Suave's platform. People are on his ass. He's over there trying to make up for it. Now he's trying to claim that the LGBT community attracts pedophiles and that we're trying to push pedophiles into the LGBT community on purpose. Anything to try to, dismiss the importance of the LGBT community, right? And to try to, put it off on the fact that he just fucking hates them, okay? He just fucking hates them, period. But he's doing this damage control thing, right? And they're running, around these different platforms trying to, do damage control. Like, he was going to do another interview with Jay Lee. I don't even think it happened. But now what he's trying to do is he's trying to walk around and put a pea jacket on Khalil Amani. Yeah, you heard what the fuck I just said. He's trying to put a pea jacket on Khalil Amani. Khalil Amani is a healthcare worker. He's not a predator of any kind. But this woman sat over there and threatened to rape his wife, threatened to rape him, all sorts of nasty shit. And we talked, and I played this earlier today. The video's up still, I think. But she did that just today. So anyway, she's calling him, predators constantly. Like, and that shit ain't cool. That shit is not fucking cool. Khalil Amani is definitely not a predator, but you know who is? You, Gwinnetta. See, you not only beat your son and starved him, okay, but sexual abuse was an issue as well. And again, I'm going to ask you this question. For some reason, you keep acting like you don't hear it. But you had inappropriate photos of your son in your phone. And the police were very concerned about that. Now, were you selling the photos? Or were you selling your son? Or were you selling both, bitch? Now, I know you're a sex worker, and I know that you know all about human trafficking per your own fucking mouth. These are all words out of your mouth, okay? I absolutely believe that she sexually trafficked her son. Absolutely. Yep, I sure do. And there's reasons I believe that. Again, this woman is a vagabond who moves, place to place to place, not stable. And she's one of those type of bitches that, they just leave all the furniture in the house type shit and just take whatever they can get on their backs. And unfortunately for her, she forgot a few things, like some paperwork. That same paperwork that she thinks she's hiding behind a seal in Alabama's courthouse. Yeah. So anyway, I want to show you this video. So basically, that's what's going on. They're in this damage control mode, okay? So now they're trying to run around here and call Khalil Amani, put this pea jacket on him. And I swear to God, Izzy's probably been live 25 times just in the last 24 hours when it comes to Khalil. All right. But that's what he's trying to do. Okay. So I want you to watch this interaction really quick. All right. Absolutely obliterates Izzy and his fucking queen. Okay. Succubus. I just had to say that real quick, okay? Succubus, the same queen who says she's not only bisexual, but that she had sex with succubus. Succubus is not a male demon, that's incubus. Succubus is the female demon, but she says that she has sex with succubus. So, there is that. But I want you to see this interaction because Hamp is going to straight up confront Izzy about what they're doing out here and the bullshit lies that they're spreading. How they're, because that's not just any kind of lie to tell on somebody, right? That's not just any kind of lie. And then listen, I'll talk as we go with this, but I'm going to show you something else after this. But man, Hamp did this. He did this. Okay.
Please come back out to play. Khalil, please come out to help me.
Can somebody tell me what the name of that song is? Khalil or Hamp? What's the name of that song? Because I know Khalil plays it as an intro, but I need that because when I do an Interloper Nation edit involving Izzy, I would love to have that song.
I love you. We got Reloaded and Born in the place to be. I want y'all to give it up for him. One thing I love about his mic ain't on. Hold on. Yeah.
And here's the thing about Hamp. He's very respectable about the way he handles the shit. Okay.
Welcome to the show. We just want to say, man, you gotta take it easy out there, man. You gotta take it easy because they coming hard for you, boy. And they don't want you. We don't want you to fold like a lot of people. So, Black Jesus had a small couple of good points, but you had great points too. But this whole thing with Khalil, if we gonna have fun, don't go too hard, going deep. Just let's have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking Khalil want to get busy, but want to deal with you. But you don't want to be like, oh man, he busted me down. And then when he comes out, you like, I got him.